Welcome back to STL TV Live. I'm Sarah Bernard, and my next guest is a teacher, a researcher, and an educational game designer born and raised right here in the St. Louis area. His latest project is called Linkage, a DNA card game, and he's going to tell us all about it. John Coveyou is my guest. Welcome, John.
Thanks.
So, you've got so many things going on. You're working on your PhD at St. Louis U, right? So tell us about that.
Well, I'm in environmental and occupational public health. I was an environmental engineer for a little while, and I decided to go back and get my PhD. I love education and research and engineering, and so that's kind of what brought me to SLU.
And so you've been developing games now for a number of years.
Yeah, for a number of years. I actually designed my first game when I was about 12. It was a terrible game. And since then, I put it off while I was going to school, and I'd play games, and I did it as a hobby. But then most recently, I thought about how games could actually affect the learning process. And so I started designing a number of those.
Neat. So, and you brought your latest game.
Yes.
Here, and you're just in the middle, almost at the end of a Kickstarter campaign for this particular game.
That's correct.
But you're fully funded.
We're fully funded.
But looking for the next level.
Right. We're at about 230% funding right now. Yeah, so we were originally trying to raise $3,800, and what that would do is that would allow us to manufacture 500 copies of the game and then ship them to the people who donated to support the campaign. And when we raise more money, we can make more games and ship more, and we can upgrade the boxes and upgrade the components. So that's what we're going for now, is a lot of the upgrades.
Okay, so this is a scientific game. It's based on learning about DNA.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
yeah.
Who's your intended audience?
So my intended audience is anyone 10 years old and up can play the game. I have a sister-in-law who just turned 9, and she was playing the game fluently when she was 8 years old. And so you can play when you're younger. I think families are one of the target audiences, maybe even specifically homeschool families, because you've got content in here that you could really learn from. And it gets kids excited about science. And you could also play it in a classroom if you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, what a great way to teach by really hands-on kind of way. We can't actually touch DNA, but we almost can with your cards. So let's look at some of these cards if you want to hold them up and we can catch them on the camera.
So these are the backs of the cards. You've got two different types of cards. You have DNA cards and you have RNA cards. Now maybe I should just take a step back and explain what this game is trying to teach in genetics. So there's a process called DNA to RNA transcription, and that's when the DNA inside the nucleus is made an RNA copy, and that goes out into the wild, wild west of the cell because you don't want to eat up the DNA copy, so a copy's made. Now each student is trying to make the most accurate RNA copy of the DNA in the game. So that's pretty much what they're trying to do. So they
really, by the end of the game, get that concept and what's really going on in our bodies.
Right.
Very interesting. Okay, so you can get out there and talk to some teachers and other people about using this game in the classroom. Yeah,
I've talked to a few teachers. Teachers are really excited about it. And I think one of the reasons is that a lot of times kids will come into the classroom and they'll start talking about genetics and RNA, nucleotides, and polymers and polymerase and these really crazy words. Well, this is a way to sort of diffuse a lot of that intimidation that usually surrounds around a lot of the hard science topics.
Yeah, that sounds great. So do you have your next game already in your head, planning it?
I do. The next game is going to be the next process in genetics. So this process is turning the DNA into the RNA. The next process would be taking that RNA and turning it into actual proteins.
Oh, wow.
So I've got a game I've designed to do that. I don't know what the name is going to be yet, but it's a very exciting game. It's going to be a little bit bigger. It'll be more cards, more components, dice, everything else.
Yeah, and then the process throughout this, I mean, not only are you teaching us about science, but you're learning how to be an entrepreneur and learning the manufacturing process for games and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Marketing.
Which has been overwhelming. I didn't know I was going to get into this much detail when it first started, I'd love for the summer to hire an intern, and maybe even next semester to pull an intern for one of the universities to help me out with a lot of that, because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You need the business person working alongside.
Right,
So
right.
you heard it here. John needs an intern.
That's right.
And you can check out Linkage, a DNA card game, online at gotgeniusgames.com, or shoot John an email if you'd like to know more about it. We've got his information on the screen. And we've got to take another break, but we'll be back to wrap up STL TV Live after this. And as we go, take a look at today's featured hot job, brought to you by Slate and Missouri Workforce Development.